Hey everybody, it's Tony with Big T Bariatric, and I'm back after taking a few days off. Today it is Monday, January 2nd. I almost said December, but I didn't. Yeah, I can't believe it. We're here at a whole new year already. We're into January, and I'm just ready for spring, so let's get through this month as quickly as possible. Anyways, today what I want to do is react to a clip from My 600 Pound Life. It says that this 631-pound mother turns to online feeders to help her feed her kids. So this should be interesting. We'll see how it goes, starting the clip right now.
When I wake up in the morning, I know I made it through another night, because the pain is there to remind me that I'm still alive.
Yeah, I talked about this in another video, just how hopeless you are when you're this size. You don't even know if you're going to wake up the next morning. That's just horrible. That's not only just the pain that she's dealing with, the pain that reminds her the second she wakes up, but also the fact that she did wake up, and she was almost probably afraid the night before that she wouldn't. I don't see a CPAP there, so, you know, she might be struggling with sleep apnea, and she just doesn't know how to take care of herself at this point. So let's continue.
Getting out of bed for me is very painful. From my back to my legs, it's just pain that I can't even describe. And every day it gets harder to move and harder to breathe.
Yeah, that first step when you get up out of bed, when you're that big, it is horrendous. You've been, you know, your body just kind of gets used to you being lazy and everything settles down. But then once you get up, especially after sleeping all night, and you take that first step, it is brutal. And it gets worse with each step. And the bigger you get, the worse it gets every morning. And it's just more than you can take sometimes.
I dread when I have to just even take a shower, because I know I gotta stand up and walk, and it's just hard. I can't stand up for over 5 minutes.
I've been there.
I break out into a sweat and my lower back feels like there's a hot knife sticking me.
Yeah, that's such a horrible feeling. I've had that before when I was so big that just standing up, I'm counting the seconds until I could sit down again, because it's almost like my whole body's going to collapse if I don't get to sit down. And really what it was is it's like bone on bone, because you're just so heavy that you don't have any cartilage left in your lower back. So it's like squeezing bone on bone, and it's horrible. And your knees feel like they're going to buckle, and it's just the worst pain that you can imagine, that you can't even hold yourself up. It is torturous.
Every step is painful. And I'm scared. I'm always scared that I'm going to fall. But I have to do it, because being a bigger person, you always worry about your hygiene. I feel like I'm a prisoner in my own body. And I know I'm not really living, I'm just existing. But I never thought I would be like this.
Yeah, that's another big fear too. Like, I keep telling myself now, even at my current size, after losing 137 pounds, I'm like, I'm not going to go out there and walk when it's winter time. Even though there's no snow or ice on the sidewalks, I could probably go walk right now. But I'm so afraid of falling down, like that threat is always there. Because if I fall, I'm going to break something, I'm going to hurt something, I'm going to be in a lot of pain that's going to last for weeks. Not only that, but I'm going to have to find some help to get me back up. And that's just a very, very difficult thing to do. So when you're big, you sort of just weigh your options before you do anything. So it's so easy for people to say, just get up and go for a walk. Well, that's difficult, because if you fall down or you're at that point where it's so painful you feel like you're going to collapse because you can't even hold yourself up, how are you supposed to walk? So I recommend it in a different video. I'm like, if you can walk, just make a few steps away from your bed, go back to your bed, sit back down, stand back up, take a few steps, go back to your bed and sit back down. Just that little movement. You don't have to do a lot. There's a lot of exercises you can do from your bed. I know, because I've been there. Where I was so bedridden, excuse me, I just had a little burp. I was so bedridden before that, you know, just doing some arm exercises, doing some punches in your bed, try to lift your legs up if you can. Even just kind of engage your legs and just move them in and out. Like, anything that you can do, any movement you can do will help you gain some muscle and, you know, get stronger. All right, let's continue.
All my life, I felt like I was the outcast in the family because, I had a different father than my brothers and sisters. My mom had an affair with her best friend's husband,
Wow.
and I became a product of that affair. I think she was embarrassed and ashamed of what she had done.
That's hard.
And she took all that out on me. I never felt like my mom loved me. Even to this day, I'm 53 years old, and I can't recall a time of ever feeling like my mom ever loved me. When I was 5, my grandmother saw how unhappy I was, and she would try to use food to comfort me. One of my best memories as a kid is being with my grandma. When we would go to bed at night, we would lay in bed and read and eat ginger snaps.
Yeah, that's another thing too. When you go through a lot of traumatic events like that, when you don't get that love, you don't get that comfort from other people, you don't feel safe in your own home, you're going to find something that's going to make you safe. You're going to find something that's going to make you feel loved. And food can be a comfort to a lot of people. And it's not us sometimes who even begin that process of, finding food as comfort. It's other people. Like, they don't know how to love other people. They don't know how to do anything but give. And so sometimes that giving is food. It's like, here, have this ice cream and shut up. Why are you sad? Here's your favorite dinner and just be quiet. It's something like that where it begins without even realizing what you're doing. It's just, here's some food to make you feel better and just shut up. And so that's where it begins for a lot of people. It's other people finding ways to calm us down. Like sometimes as a parent, I've seen it before and I've done it where, hey, if I give you this ice cream, if I give you this sucker, if I give you this candy bar, whatever, will you be quiet? And that's where we start reinforcing the reward system with food. And that can turn into a very unhealthy addiction if it's not curbed immediately. We need to find better outlets for rewards. Especially now when I'm dieting, it's like people still want to say, hey, let's celebrate with food. I want to reward you with food. You're doing a great job. You can eat this. It's like, no, I can't. I'm trying to get over that reward system where I run to food when I want to celebrate. It's like, I can't do it. Let's find some other way of celebrating my weight loss or celebrating Christmas or celebrating the holidays instead of using food. So that's something that, a lot of people who are overweight have to learn, is to get over that reward system when it comes to food.
It was one of the few things that made me happy.
Yep.
But things went downhill from there. And when I was 9, my stepdad started molesting me. My mom knew everything that was going on. There was times when I would see her and she was watching, so I know she knew. But she didn't care enough to stop it. I guess she just didn't care enough about me.
Wow.
And it hurt me as a child when I felt like my mom wouldn't protect me. I had nobody to talk to, nowhere to turn. So I turned to food to escape the pain.
That is just absolutely awful. I've been through sexual abuse and nobody knew what was going on, so I can't imagine somebody knowing that it's going on and absolutely doing nothing about it. I can see where she feels completely helpless and completely alone, that she's got nobody there to protect her and help her out, and the only thing that she had to help her feel good about herself was food. And so look at what that did to her and her whole life. Like, food was the only thing that gave her pleasure, gave her comfort, and the only thing that gave her, made her feel safe. Is sometimes it's getting so big that nobody's going to mess with you anymore. You get so big that nobody wants to touch you anymore. And so that's the consequence of using food as a reward, and it's just devastating.
I was gaining weight, and by the time I was 11, I weighed almost 200 pounds. All the kids would laugh and tease at me.
Yep.
Because, I was the biggest one. They always picked on me. School was terrible, but being at home was a nightmare.
For me, school wasn't that bad. I actually miss being in high school. I know a lot of people don't. They're glad that they're gone, but I actually have dreams of going back to high school because it was really the only sort of normal time I had in my life, being around people. I got along with every single group. Like, I wasn't anybody's best friend in high school. I did have a few best friends here and there, throughout junior high and stuff like that. But when I got into high school, I didn't really have a best friend. But it was more along the lines with I got along well with everybody, so I was an acquaintance of everybody. And I fit in every single group because I was just funny and outgoing, and I wasn't made fun of too much. The girls didn't like me too much. I didn't really ever have a girlfriend. I didn't go to any of the dances or things like that. So in some ways, I wasn't outgoing. I was very shy. I never asked anybody out. And so I'm just never not used to being asked out still to this day. So, I'm completely oblivious if someone has feelings for me. Like, I have no clue what that looks like. And so sometimes I just miss out on things. And there's times before a girl would come to me later and be like, I had a huge crush on you in junior high, or I had a huge crush on you in high school, and you never seemed to be interested in me. Well, I had no idea. Like, I don't know how to read signs like that. I just never assume anybody is interested in me in that way. So, but yeah, when it came to high school, junior high, and stuff like that, I always had a lot of friends. I got along well with everybody, so those weren't terrible times. Yeah, there was the few people who made fun of me, but for the most part, when you're funny and you're big and you get along with everybody, you're not going to be made fun of too much. But if you sort of portray this outcast and you don't get along well with anybody and you're just angry all the time because you're miserable, yeah, that's going to be a different story. You're probably going to get picked on quite a bit.
Because the molestation didn't stop until I was 14, when my stepdad left my mom. And by that time, my weight was up to 280 pounds. And when I was in junior high, I loved my size then. Because I was curvy, I started getting a lot of attention from boys. And when I was 15, I found out that I was pregnant with my first child. So I ended up dropping out of high school to have my daughter. I was weighing like over 300 pounds, and the doctor said that I was grossly obese.
That's where it's different for boys and girls. When you're curvy and you're a big guy, at least my experience, I didn't get too much attention from it. Girls didn't really like big, curvy guys. I did play football. I was very athletic, very strong, but I was still in the 300s right around when I was in high school. And so, girls never looked my way, as far as I know, of course. Again, there was that rare instance where someone told me they had interest in me back then. I had no clue. But when you're a girl and you're bigger, you seem to get a little more attention. The guys seem to like that, the big butt syndrome, or I like big butts and I cannot lie type thing. Guys seem to like bigger girls, but girls don't seem to like bigger guys, at least in my experience. But I could be wrong about that.
But I didn't let it affect me because I blamed it on being pregnant. After our daughter was born, her father and I got married.
Cute.
Things were good for a while, but after I had our second child, he started abusing me. The abuse was awful. I mean, there was times when I had black eyes and busted lips, and one time he broke my nose so severely that I had to have an operation on it.
Things was very hard for my family growing up. You never want to see your mom being hurt, so you get used to it, but it's never okay.
It was devastating being abused, but I think I was sort of kind of used to being abused because of everything that I've been through in my childhood.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing, too, where if you kind of grow up and you're being abused and you're in a system where you can't get out of that, you kind of get used to it. And so a lot of people grow up and they allow abuse to happen in their lives because they just are used to it. They think they deserve it somehow, or there's no escaping it. And so they don't really run from those bad relationships that they should run from. So it's very easy to say, hey girl, why didn't you leave this guy? He was abusing you. Well, if you've been abused your whole life, you've been walked on and stomped on, you just kind of get used to it. And it's really sad because it perpetuates the bad behavior where you keep running to food because you still don't feel that love and safety from the person who should be showing you love and safety. You get it from food or you get it from your addiction.
I dealt with the abuse the same way I did when I was a kid, with food. And my weight kept going up. By the time I was in my mid-20s, I was almost 400 pounds.
Oof.
Finally, me and my husband got divorced. I had 4 children by my first husband. After that, I had 2 more boyfriends, and I had a child by each one. And the more I had children, the higher my weight got. By the time I was pregnant with my 6th child, I was over 400 pounds. I worked whatever jobs I could to support my family.
Yeah, you just kind of get stuck in that perpetual system of abuse, and you just find yourself in another bad relationship and another bad relationship, and you just find yourself in a perpetual cycle of doing that, and you just can't seem to get out of it. Like, it would be very easy for me to say, hey, you are looking for the wrong guys at the wrong time. Like, what are you doing? You've been in so many abusive relationships, and you keep getting pregnant from these guys. It's like, something's got to give here. You got to start trying to fix your life in one way or another, and maybe that starts with your weight and then get into a relationship instead of just relying on guys who are going to keep going for you, knowing that they can abuse you and hurt you and keep trying to ruin your life.
Support my family. Most of the jobs I could find were in factories, and that was difficult, being as big as I was. It was all that I could do to get the job done so that I could provide for them.
When I was young, she worked hard. She made sure we ate, had clothes, went to school. She was a devoted mother.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see that even though she was big, she still was able to work very hard, and she did the best she could to take care of her kids, but she kept having kids, and I think that's something that's very bad about the cycle of abuse as well. Is you're not really choosing the right characters to have a relationship with, to sleep with. Suddenly you're having kids with all these different guys, and you're just, again, stuck in maybe even a perpetual cycle of sexual abuse.
I was eating fast food all the time, and by the time I was in my mid-30s, I weighed over 450 pounds. And then I got injured in a car accident while I was working in the sewing factory. And it ended up injuring my back so bad that I couldn't really sit up. So there went that job. I needed a way to make money, and that's when I discovered the internet.
That sort of resembles my experience working. I was a truck driver for a few years, driving with a company called Swift. You've probably seen them on the interstate. When you're out on the road all the time, you have no options except for eating fast food. And I could have chosen to eat salad and stuff like that. Those options were available, but I didn't choose that route. I was eating fast food all the time. And what ended up happening is I ended up falling out of my truck. I was climbing into the cab, and my foot slipped, and I hit my knee on the steel steps as on my way down all the way. And it's a very high fall. Like, if you've ever climbed up into a cab of a semi-truck, you know how high it is. So I slipped, fell, banged my knee on the steel steps on the way down, and it was horrible. And I was in tears, crying. And it was caught on camera, and there was a line of trucks behind me trying to leave the terminal, and it was just embarrassing and painful. And I didn't know what workman's comp was at the time, so I made the dumbest decision I ever made, because they asked me, do you want some workman's comp, to take some time off to heal and recover? And I said no. I don't know why I said no, but I ended up being off work for a very long time. And, days turned into weeks, and I just couldn't get back. Like, my knee was in so much pain. I didn't have medical coverage at the time, so I didn't go to see a doctor. I didn't take workman's comp, and I just ended up being unemployed at the end of that. And it was a bad experience, but sometimes when you just get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you injure yourself, there's no recovering. There's really no getting back into it. You find yourself back eating horribly again, being stuck, and then now you can't work, and then you find yourself being bedridden just about, because you're just not getting better. You're not recovering.
Not only did I find out that there was men out there that like big women, but there was also men out there that love to watch women eat. They're called feeders. In the feederism world, the feeder is the person that provides the food. A feedee is somebody that would eat the food. So they would pay me to eat while they watched online. And as a single mom, I found a way to feed my children and keep a roof over my kids' head by being a feedie. And feeding led me to discover squashing. Squashing is something where somebody pays you to sit on them. They would want...
That exists. I mean, I knew about the feeding thing. I didn't know that you could pay people to watch them eat. If I knew that was a thing, I would be a millionaire by now. Like, I would be so great at that, making money. Uh, it's one of those things I can't judge her too much because she found a niche. She found a way to make money for her kids so she can continue supporting them. But at the same time, that's just horribly disgusting. But, you know, if she wanted to do that and that's how she found a way of being able to take care of her kids, I can't judge that too much. But to get into squashing, people are paying you to sit on them. I did that to my sister for free. Like, you know, there's no sexual connotation there, I hope. You just pay someone to sit on you. But I'd always sit on my sisters all the time. And, you know, and they still talk about it to this day. Like, he always won the fights because he sat on me and he wouldn't let me get up until I told him that he won. So, wow, I can't believe this world anymore. Lord, come quickly, I guess.
Would want someone to sit on them because that was their way of losing control. But for me, it meant I could support my family. And when I was in feeding and squashing, at first it was all fun and games because I was getting paid to do what I love best, eating good food. But my weight just got more and more out of control.
As much as we say we can't judge these people, it's like there's consequences. I'm sorry, but there are consequences for your actions. If you want to choose a lifestyle that's that disgusting, where people are going to pay you to eat, they're going to pay you to sit on them, and your whole livelihood is based upon you being big, well, you're going to face those consequences. Are you willing to give up 20, 30, 40 years of your life, giving up your mobility and your health and your happiness to make a few bucks? It's at this point, it's much easier for you to lose the weight, get your life in control, and find a real job. That's what I'm working on right now, finding a real job. I work online as a writer, and I've made some decent money, but it hasn't been consistent. And I'm struggling right now because after my weight loss surgery, I was out of work for a month, and then it really slowed down through the holidays, and so I'm struggling financially right now. And it sucks, and I hate being in that position, but I'm looking for a real job now that I'm more mobile, that now that I've lost all this weight. Like, that's the next step in my journey, is finding a real consistent job. But I would never get into a position where I was worsening my health by overeating and gaining all this weight just to make a few bucks. Like, that's ridiculous.
And by the time I was 45, I was over 500 pounds. My health started to fall apart. I was living alone, but I started losing my balance and falling. And I would have to call EMTs to help me come and get up off the floor.
Yeah, that's scary.
And I realized that my body had gotten so big and I was unable to take care of myself. So
yeah, that's the consequence. If you can't even take care of yourself, how are you going to take care of your kids? It's like, you're going to have to choose one or the other. You can't do both. And it's probably easy to find a job. Just you sit there online, you eat, you get paid, you can pay your bills. It seems easy, but it comes at a cost. And it's costing your health. It's costing your relationship with your kids. You're going to eventually lose everything.
In my early 50s, I had to move in with my two oldest children to help take care of me. Now I almost never leave the house. And I'm basically stuck in this bed.
Yeah, that's the clip. It's just really sad where she's at right now. Like, again, I totally understand you got to find a way to take care of your kids in that position, but it should have been a short-term thing. Maybe you sort of relied on the squashing more than the feeding. I don't know. The feeding probably paid a lot more. I can't imagine paying somebody to sit on me. Ugh. Especially her. Ugh. Do you see those legs? Like, I wouldn't want to be under that mass amount of human. I already got enough mass of my own I'm trying to get rid of. But yeah, it's sickening. Just the things that are out there that people are into. Like, fetishes are nuts. I don't get it. If you're into that, I'm not trying to offend you or anything like that, but you're not taking care of your family. I'm sorry. It's a temporary thing. You're struggling, you can't work, you're injured, whatever, but there's other ways. I mean, there's got to be other ways, and that means being accountable to yourself, getting the weight off, getting healthy, and if you don't do that, the options are is you're going to die and your family's not going to have no one to take care of them left. Like, those are your options. And then you ended up living with your kids and probably mooching off of them. So how far did that get you? You still had no career. You still just kept getting to a point where your health was deteriorating, and now you're even more miserable. It's like, what's really sad about this whole thing, and I've been living that myself, is you feel like you just wasted decades of your life to this addiction. It just takes so much away from you, and you're just, you're struggling to survive. You're trying to claw back, and then you fall back into your addiction, and you lose momentum, and it takes another 5 years out of you, and it's just horrible. It's very horrible, and I feel so bad for people who are stuck. And there's many people who are stuck and don't even realize that they're stuck, and they feel like that there's no hope. But there is hope. I've been there. I've done that, but you have to start when you're younger. I mean, you can still lose weight when you're older, but it's so much harder to lose weight when you're older. And when you're older, you lose momentum, you lose muscle mass, it's harder to move, and you just get more stuck, and there's more health conditions. So if you're in your 20s and you're overweight and you think there's no problem being overweight because the consequences of it haven't hit you yet, I'm telling you, the consequences are going to hit you, and they're going to hit you very hard. And then at that point, you're just going to feel like it's too much work to go back because you're in so much pain, you're almost bedridden, your health is getting worse, and then it's just there's that much more to overcome. So I'm telling you, start now. Start getting healthy now, so that when you get to your 30s, you get to your 40s, you're not also battling obesity on top of everything else. Because once you get older, you're going to feel like you hit a brick wall. My friends have always told me, like, once you hit that 40th birthday, you feel like you hit a brick wall and everything is sore. And that's at a normal weight, okay? So you're going to get older and things are going to get harder. It's going to be harder to lose weight. But I'm telling you right now, start while you're young. Don't give into this body positivity bull crap. It's bull crap. It's all lies. It's just a bunch of people deluding themselves into thinking that they don't have to be accountable for their actions and there's no problem being overweight. It's all lies. I'm telling you right now. Anyways, that's my rant. This video has gone on long enough. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the subscribe button down below. I greatly appreciate it. And I'll be back with another one. God bless you guys.